This show is part of the Deluxe Edition Network. To find the other great shows on the network, head over to the deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
Bev's Video Kingdom is intended for a mature audience. Listener discretion is advised.
Bev's Video Kingdom really is brought to you by...
What the fuck?
What's up, dude?
One of my renters broke the toilet again. That dude takes giant shits. Now I know what I'm doing tomorrow.
Why don't you hire a property management company or something to take care of that stuff?
Because they suck, and they take 10%.
You know, our dude Hank owns and manages Heritage Realty Partners. I think he said he only charges 5%, and he visits each property at least once a month.
That's right. He's always posting beers from the road. You have his number?
Actually, I do. His personal number is 805-451-5734.
Perfect. Now he can deal with my renter's big shits.
Heritage Realty Partners.
For all your property management and investment needs.
Bev's Video Kingdom is brought to you by Spaceballs, the underwear. The out-of-this-world solution for men who need a little extra space for their balls. Fellas, let me ask you a question. Is your shorts as big as mine? Our underwear is not only comfortable, but it's also roomy enough to accommodate those with extra meaty crotch meteors or the greatest of helmets. With Spaceballs, the underwear, you won't have to worry about crushing your cojones during a game of space tennis or while flying your Winnebago through an asteroid field. It's the perfect pouch for your protruding package. So, if you want to make sure your boys are safe and sound, there's only one choice. Spaceballs, the underwear! Our underwear is so good, it'll make you say, "May the shorts be with you."
Shit. Oh, you wish.
Oh, my Lord. Is your shorts as big as mine?
I want to be at Beverly's, bringing me home with my movies. Just a blind by, no reason why. I love this scene. It's got Zach and Brad, your favorite podcast. Let's start this thing.
Oh, yeah. Welcome back to Bev's Video Kingdom. We are back out at the Bev's Outdoor Studio. It's a lovely evening. I can feel my balls, not like last time when apparently I couldn't.
Yeah, it's a little bit better.
Yeah. So I got Bradley with me.
What up, man?
And we've got a couple we got one late show and one probably no show right now. So we
we're in a weird spot.
Yeah. So we had a couple people join us, and hopefully Zach will be joining us very soon. We'll see if he's drunk.
Yeah, he's on the other side of the United States right now. So
yeah. Unfortunately, he's on the East Coast, and he had a dinner or something tonight. So he's probably getting plowed. He's going to come on and just start saying penis jokes and F this and that.
That's all right. That's a drunk Zach is a good Zach. So
it is.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. So we have a couple guests. Across from me, we've got the governor. He's been on the show a few times and done some judging, and so he decided to join us for Spaceballs.
I was a late call in from the bullpen.
Yeah.
And when Nate first told me we were doing Spaceballs, I was like, man, I'm a fan of that movie. I liked that movie as a kid a ton, but I had not watched it for a while until I rewatched it last night.
Sweet. All right.
That's a good take. I'm looking forward to that take.
And then to my right is my big brother who thinks we're all a bunch of idiots.
You are idiots.
And yeah, there he is. That's the voice.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thanks for being here, buddy.
Yeah. If you've heard on the draft, when we get to our also rans and we're always talking about what we didn't pick. I got to say right now, and it's not draft related, but we'll probably bring it up next episode, but I got the official 4 idiot picks. I was pretty stoked. I think I'm the first to ever get the quadruple idiot.
The quad idiot.
Quad idiot.
Yeah.
That's. I need a shirt or something.
Yeah. I think we'll go into that a little bit more on the draft episode.
For sure.
Because Timmy's going to come back and help us judge. So anyway, thanks guys for coming out. Yeah. So like we mentioned, we are doing the Mel Brooks classic film Spaceballs. This was my pick, and something that it actually came out yesterday. We're recording this a week before it comes out. Doesn't matter. but it's out by the time you listen to this. I think all the episodes are out. I think they're releasing them every single night.
I think it was 4 nights back to back.
Yeah, and so they finally released History of the World Part 2, which it's a Hulu series, and Mel Brooks is involved. It's got a bunch of actors in it, and it's almost like these little, they're easy to digest, quick little 25 minute episodes or whatever of tiny little vignettes. And if you've ever seen History of the World Part 1, which is just a classic Mel Brooks film, one of my favorites, I watched the first episode the other night, and I went in really skeptical. I was like, is this a money grab? How can this be good? Because what people don't realize, if you haven't seen it, at the end of History of the World Part 1, they actually had a trailer for History of the World Part 2,
right?
Which I think was just some of their other ideas that they probably didn't flush out or finish. They said, hey, let's just make that a trailer for History Part 2 and we'll never make the movie. And so they finally made this thing, and they actually have a reference to one of the, I won't spoil it for anybody if you want to watch this, but one of the things they mentioned in the trailer, they finally did it. It's really great. I'm telling you, I went in skeptical. I laughed out loud quite a few times. There's a lot of stupid shit that's not funny. There's one skit that I did not laugh one time, and I was like, wow, that was bad. But then there's a couple just absolutely hilarious things. So if you're a fan, definitely check that out. Governor, sorry.
It's okay. So we talked about this a little before recording, and to me, one of the I went back and forth, and I was like, man, a lot of my takes, I feel like a hypocrite about this because it didn't feel really set up well for a sequel. But if you look at all of his successful movies, there are no sequels to these. They're just kind of standalone parodies,
right?
And they joke in the movie, oh, well, look for us in. Spaceballs 2, the search for more money.
Search for more money.
Like clearly the search for Spock kind of reference. And
right.
So to me, I thought, man, I don't know, should they? Because there's been a lot of discussion over the decades.
Oh yeah.
Should there be a sequel to Spaceballs? And bands have asked everywhere Mel Brooks goes, is there going to be a sequel to this? And I think it'd be cool if they did, and I'm sure I'd watch it, and there'd probably be some funny things. But at the same time, do any of his movies need the sequel?
No.
Yeah. And I mean, Star Wars was obviously right for it. I mean, now, especially now that they've had the episodes 1 through 3 and then the episodes 7 through 9 that have come out since. So there's definitely a lot of meat that you could pull from as far as like jokes and things like that. But at the same time, do you try to bring back Bill Pullman, and you try to bring back Daphne Zuniga and
John Candy.
Yeah. Deader on Cameo. God damn it. God damn it, Scott.
I thought it was interesting because this movie technically came out after all of the first 3, episodes 4, 5, 6.
Right.
So it came out after, 4 years after Return of the Jedi, I want to say? Yeah, so they didn't really utilize a lot of footage or a lot of opportunities from those movies.
Right.
Yeah.
Which did it leave the door open, or was it a good choice to kind of focus on the early stuff?
Well, and I think the other thing that we also forget is that Mel Brooks is fucking 97 years old. Like, right. How is this guy involved in anything now? I mean, I know it's just kind of, it's like putting his face on it, which is great, but...
I mean, as far as so if you watch the History of the World Part 2, which I recommend checking it out, just at least watch the first episode, see what you think. And he actually does an intro, and he looks... Is he 97 or 94?
96.
96?
Yeah. 96 or 7.
He's in his mid-90s.
Born in 26.
Yeah.
So
he's looking great. And, obviously he's up there. But, yeah, at this point, leave Spaceballs alone. Because if he's not fully involved, and I don't know how involved he was with History of the World Part 2, if he just stamped it or whatever, some of the jokes definitely feel like they're Mel Brooks created, because I mean, he's not just a director, he is a screenwriter. He's behind these movies. Like, he was he's like Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein. Like, he's not just a director, he's an actor, screenwriter, and everything, executive producer and everything. So,
well, you got to think how many people that were involved in comedy rooms, writers' rooms for comedies,
right.
Writing great comedy movies and stuff. How many of them were inspired by Mel Brooks movies? I mean, that's got to be, a whole lot of them figured out that humor is what is entertaining to them, and have been doing that for a long time.
Well, absolutely, yeah. I definitely think that, Trey Parker, Matt Stone had to be influenced by Mel Brooks movies.
Oh, yeah,
just
yeah.
based on and my biggest reason I say that is because they go after everybody, they tease everybody,
Right.
and they don't give a shit. Mel Brooks is the same thing in his movies. He's making fun of everybody, and all races, and that's something I'll get into later a little bit. But they definitely, I just look at that and I go, oh man, I bet they loved his movies for sure.
Oh, yeah,
His
100%.
all seem very thoughtful. Like one of the things I want to talk about later is like the fact that his parodies have stood up to the test of time. I think, in an era where cancel culture is such a big thing, like
Right.
you go back and watch those, and I laughed out loud at some of the jokes, and I think, man, I think they still survive now, and it'd be tough to really tear them apart.
Yeah, and it's a thing where it's like, is he old enough now? It's like, hey, what's the point? Why go after him? Or is it just the fact that he's Jewish? Does he get a pass on some of this stuff because he's making fun of Jewish and everybody else? And so he's like, hey, it's kind of weird because there's definitely some movies, and I know Blazing Saddles has definitely been mentioned in a few threads here and there about how, and I wanted to pick Blazing Saddles for this, but I kind of pushed out.
I think we could have done it. But
I think so too. And I honestly, at some point, I would like to, but I don't know.
People cancel everything.
Yeah, that's the thing.
We'll see how this one goes. This will be the
Right.
gateway movie.
Yeah. So Blazing Saddles, 1987, had a budget of $22 million, box office only $38 million. So definitely was not a hit. The critics didn't like it.
that's the weirdest thing to me is like, I don't understand how Mel Brooks, who already has a following, he's already put out some outstanding movies that people really care about. It brings up Star Wars, like were people just sick of Star Wars? Like what was going on in 87?
87.
Yeah. What was going on in 1987 where people were like, fuck yeah, I'm going to go watch this movie. He's making fun of Star Wars. This would be great.
Yeah. I'm totally blanking on something else it was up against that did better. And it wasn't a great movie. It wasn't like it was up against a major blockbuster or anything. And I mean, he hadn't really had any big hits that were super successful for a while at this point.
Yeah, maybe.
So maybe people just kind of, because he definitely had his main streak of great movies was in the 70s.
Right.
And so like with Young Frankenstein, High Anxiety, History of the World Part 1, it started with The Producers in late 60s, the movie The Producers, which inspired the Broadway hit, which was enormous. I remember that was just insanely popular. But yeah, and then of course Blazing Saddles in the 70s. So then after that, it kind of tailed off, and there's definitely, I don't know if is it the subject matter or is it just kind of burnout on his humor.
Well, do you think it's like right in the middle of an age gap? Because I was introduced to Mel Brooks comedy, and my parents were huge fans. Mm-hmm. They're in their late 70s now. I'm in my late 40s, and the 3 Star Wars original trilogy had come out and had finished 4 years ago. So I wonder, like, was that gap of time and maybe like right in the middle of 2 kind of big generations? What did that affect kind of how people viewed this one? Maybe
it could have. So let's go around a little bit and just kind of talk about the movie itself. So Brad, is this a movie that you've seen a bunch of times or?
Oh yeah. No, I mean it's one of those things that within my family, like we got lines quoted. Like I've seen it 100 times. Like it's one of those things that was just like constantly on. And that's the thing is like I brought that into my family, like, and even my wife, like it's not like something like we throw on all the time, but like we were watching it a few nights ago, and I mean she's quoting lines immediately as they're popping up. It's just like within her family too, like they had watched it a bunch, so it's like it's a certain it's like a certain style of comedy,
right?
That it can be clever, it can be very hit or miss. I mean, there's definitely some jokes that don't fly, but at the same time, enough of them are solid, and like you said, like Gov was saying, they're very thoughtful jokes. Like there's like definitely some planning and thoughtfulness when they create the type of joke that they're going to have in those movies. So.
And some of the jokes definitely on this are very, very dated. Like the twins that are there.
Chew your gum.
Your gum.
Yeah, chew your gum. Which like any of your kids are gonna say, okay,
What does that
what is
mean?
that?
Well, I'm 49, and I went, I'm pretty sure that's a Double Mint
twins,
reference when I
right?
rewatched it.
Yeah.
Both of those girls were in the Double Mint commercial.
Right, exactly.
But the Double Mint commercials went all the way back to like the 60s.
Yeah.
So by
Right.
the time I was a little kid, they'd kind of been around a long time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, or even the original Planet of the Apes that show up at the end. It's like, those horrible masks and just. I mean, the budget on this movie was not good. So anyway, yeah. So now, did you watch it with you watch it with them this time?
Yeah. They
kids?
all. In fact, actually, I started it because I was wanting to get through it, and then my son sat down, and then my daughter came in, and then of course they're all watching. My wife's watching it too. It's like we all just kind of. It wasn't like a plan, like hey kids, we're sitting
Right.
down for a movie, but they all kind of came in. They had seen it before, and everybody in the family had seen it before, and we just kind of like just got getting like the flow of it. And it's such a fast movie too. It goes
Yeah.
so quick.
It's hour and 36.
Yeah, it's a very quick movie, and so it's like the pacing of it is quick. You know where the jokes are going to be popping, and yeah, it's a fun little experience.
And that's the one thing that Mel's really good at, just making sure that there's not a lot of gaps between jokes. There's not a lot of story. There's just, hey, let's set up this joke. Let's set up this joke. Okay, so Gov, you said you rewatched this again. Had it been a while since you'd watched it?
It'd been a long time since I watched it. So I was 14 when the movie came out, and I saw it a bunch of times. I'm also a huge Star Wars fan, and I watched this movie multiple times. But it's been a long gap between the last time I watched it for the umpteenth time and watching it last night, and it felt a little different. Like it really felt like, okay, I remember this being really funny as a teenager.
Yeah.
But a lot of it, I was like, okay, this is all right. I'm just watching like pretty silently. I was watching it by myself late at night, and there were times I laughed out loud. Certain, I'm sure lines that we used to quote all the time,
Right.
made me laugh out loud again. But it felt very different watching it now versus 30 years ago.
Yeah, and I kind of had that a little bit of like a panic. I'm like, as I'm sitting there watching it, I'm going, shit, this is the movie I picked. And
I wondered.
I don't know if Zach has seen this. He's probably gonna think it's stupid, and then I don't know what
That was my
Nate's
other
gonna
question.
think, and so I don't know.
I wondered, like, Zach being a little younger, I'm like, when was the first time he saw this? Because he didn't watch it when it came out, and if he did, he didn't get much of it.
Right? Yeah, I don't know. So that's something. Hopefully, when he comes on, we'll ask him. I know he did say that they did have a family movie night, and so I won't say how it went, but he did watch it with his kids.
Well, it's PG, so it's safe.
Right.
And then there's things like Dick Van Patten. I mean, obviously,
Right.
older actor. I mean, that people are gonna know. Michael Winslow. If you don't know Michael Winslow,
Oh yeah.
you kind of lose part of the joke of that. Like, I mean, he's obviously like, you're like, oh, this guy's talented at making sound effects. But
Yeah.
the whole fact that, I mean, that was his whole character in Police Academy. It's
Exactly.
like, you know him for that. So it's like, there's so many things that are very much nostalgic.
Well, yeah, and definitely, like John Hurt reprising his role at the very
So
end,
good.
which is so good with the alien coming out of his. I think more people would probably get that one, but that's pretty great that he did that. Like he came back, reprised that role, and had the alien come out of his chest again.
Joan Rivers is very much a staple of the 80s and like 90s. Like, knowing her shtick makes her part kind of funny.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, can we talk? Like, I mean, all that kind of stuff. But you know her catchphrases, like where I think that's what you're talking about. Like the datedness of it kind of hurts it.
Right.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like, well, I know all these jokes, but my kids still think it's funny. Like, I mean, knowing Star Wars, they're Star Wars fans. I'm a Star Wars fan. It's like, I think they still appreciate the fact that it's a spoof. And like, I mean, when you get like the little, do they even like describe the dink-dink? Dink. Are they the dinks? Is that
They're
They're the dinks, which are the Jawa.
yeah, they're
parody.
the Jawas, and so it's like, I mean, even little things like that. It's funny. Like we were actually eating dinner as the movie was playing, and when it got to the we're all kind of bouncing along to the dink.
Well,
dink,
it's the one,
dink, dink,
the
dink,
famous
dink,
song
dink.
that I forget.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Bridge over River Kwai, I think is.
Yeah,
I think
you
that's
used
what
it
it's
as well.
from.
But
Yeah.
and I guess one of the original Jawas, or it was either one of the Jawas or one of the Ewoks, I think actually played one of the dinks.
Oh, really? I didn't look into that. I didn't need to do better little person research, apparently.
Do a little research, will you?
Oh, you.
Gosh darn it!
But like you're saying, though, it's like, yeah, there's some of the parts of the movie where I'm just sitting there going, okay. But then I laughed out loud. One of my favorite things, we don't really do lines and stuff on this show, but oh man, one of my favorite parts, I laughed loud, was Barf, we're not doing this for money. We're doing it for a shitload of money. And I don't know why that line just made me laugh so fucking much. And that, I mean,
they use the word shit a lot in this movie in very interesting ways. My favorite line, of course, my whole life has always been the dude that's got the pick and he's in the desert. He's coming to the desert. He's like, we ain't found shit. It's just the way he delivers it is so perfect.
So good.
It's so great.
And it's just ridiculous because, first of all, you're sitting there going, okay, they have these big combs. Okay, that's the gag.
Yeah.
Then you think, oh, can't get funnier. But then the black guys have picks. It has to have the pick. Oh my gosh!
And I may be able to get into that in my in our later categories, but
right.
A lot of the gags and a lot of the parodies are obvious, and a lot of them are really subtle. And I didn't know any of them when I watched it for a bunch of times, but when I started looking into it and researching, the guy that said we ain't found shit. He actually played in an episode of Star Trek later. Like he was in.
I
think it might have been Voyager or one of them.
Okay.
So there's so many connections to people from other movies, even if it's not obvious right away.
Yeah. Okay. So Tim, you're a lot older than all of us.
I bet.
And now, do you know if you happen to see this in the theater? Because I don't think I did.
I totally remember. I was a senior in high school.
That's right. Okay.
I was on a date. Took my girlfriend. I laughed my ass off, and she did not like it.
Well, if that's not a sign, and I know how that ended, and that's just like red flag, bright light.
Makes sense.
Makes sense now. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's definitely a nice test when you do something like that, like a comedy show or something like that, and you're sitting there laughing at this and that, and she's just not laughing. Like,
she's like, "You're an idiot. What the heck?"
I've been
stupid.
Very lucky. There's like just a couple things in my repertoire that my wife does not like. Like, I love Eric Andre, and she cannot stand him, and it drives her crazy. Like, she will leave the room if I put on an episode of Eric Andre's show, and she'll just be like, "Nope, I'm not doing it." And I'm like, come on, we share so many things. Why can't you love this too?
You have to have some things that are your own, buddy. And
Practical Jokers is ours. My wife's like, this show is so stupid. I can't even be in the room when it's on. And I'm like, I'm take off. I'm gonna laugh my ass off.
Love it
for sure.
So yeah. And then is it something that have you seen it in a while or
I've seen it
a bunch of times?
Yeah.
I'm assuming you guys have watched it together, like probably like rented it from Bev's and watched it at times back in the day.
Probably.
Maybe, yeah. I was thinking back. I was trying to remember when I saw it for the first time, but I know it was probably on VHS. Maybe in college or something, or I don't know.
You don't think you saw it till college?
I don't think I saw it until college. I don't, unless I was hanging out with friends or whatever. But I just remember thinking that late era Mel Brooks movies, like when he gets into Men in Tights and Dracula Dead and Loving It, and this, I think I'd kind of checked out. So that's why I was kind of sitting here going, I wonder why, certain movies didn't resonate or whatever. Maybe it's because I was into different stuff. But I remember watching History of the World Part 1 in the theater.
Yeah.
And there's that movie came out late 70s, which means I was young. And I remember seeing it in the theater. I can picture myself being there because I'm sitting there going, why are these apes at the beginning beating off? Because that's how it starts. It starts with, and they're not really beating off, but they're literally socking themselves in the nuts over and over again. That's how the damn movie starts. And I just thought it was funny. Oh, they're hitting themselves in the balls. That's hilarious. Which I kind of missed the entire point, which is good because I was probably 7.
It seems like Dad snuck us into this.
Yeah. Okay.
Because he was a big fan.
Yeah. Yeah. So our dad, he loved Mel Brooks and that kind of humor, which probably where I get it, and Monty Python and all that stuff, and so but yeah. So but again, I still haven't seen Men in Tights. I never saw Dracula Dead and Loving It and I love Leslie Nielsen. I was into the Police Squad movies and all that stuff. So yeah, I don't know why.
This is the movie I can't remember exactly where I first saw it. I feel like I might have seen it in the theaters as a 14-year-old.
Yeah.
I'm sure I saw Men in Tights and Dracula like on HBO or whatever movie, channel was whatever it was. But this is the one I can't remember exactly. Like I feel like I saw it in the theater. I know I saw the later ones.
Right.
Not in the theater.
All right. Well, Zach still hasn't joined us to get his thoughts, but we'll get him when he gets here.
I want to just say one more thing before we get to the Drinking with the Director. It's the idea that you guys have all kind of hit on this, and we were talking about like with our wives a little bit later or a little bit earlier and stuff. It's like the idea that I can't understand like how somebody doesn't think this style of humor is funny. Like it's to me, it's really like it confuses me. I'm like, if somebody doesn't think like just objectively Spaceballs, like the at least a few jokes are funny. I'm like, and if they're just like, no, this is stupid. I'm like, I don't understand that. It really confuses me.
Right.
I don't know if it makes me a bad person, but I will judge the fuck out of you. If you like watch Spaceballs and you're like, this is stupid or this is base or this is whatever, like I'm going to be like, well, show me what you think is funny, because if you don't think this is funny, what the fuck is going on with you? Like you've got your own issues going on. I want to know what makes you laugh, because this is funny.
What is your expert highbrow comedy that I need to
exactly
investigate?
That's my thing, and it's sometimes I do get a little anti-elitist. Or wait, am I elitist if I don't like rich people, or am I anti-elitist?
That's all semantics.
You're anti-elitist.
Yeah, okay.
The elitists are the rich people, right?
Pretty much.
I don't know.
Anyway,
Don't
so
make me
yeah,
think.
my point is like if you think that there's something like, oh, this is like below you, I'm sorry, I can't hang.
Right.
We cannot be friends.
I mean,
it just doesn't work.
Yeah, if you can at least find it humorous. Okay, maybe you're not laughing out loud, but you can at least go, oh, okay, I can see why that's funny. I mean, a line like, I'll bet she gives a great helmet. I mean, that's just fucking hilarious. Oh, God, that line, it got me. It gets me every time, and I knew it was coming. I was ready for it. I bet she gives great helmet. So good. So yeah, let's move on to Drinking with Mel Brooks, and probably kill him because he's too old to drink.
Jesus.
Pull up a chair and grab yourself a drink. We'll hypothesize what directors think. Maybe sometimes get a guess. Makes us look good. Let's drink, laugh, and pretend we know what we're doing. Drinking with the Director, brought to you by Last Call Brewing.
Before we get into Drinking with the Director, let's do a little house cleaning, as they say. We are a part of the Deluxe Edition Network, which is a great, we were talking about this on the chat the other day. We have a group of all the different podcasters, and we're trying to make a little family here. We're supporting each other, and what it is, it's independent podcasters just trying to spread the word about each other and help each other out, and
Not just across the nation, across the world.
the world. We have 3% of our listeners are in Australia.
Well, yeah. I
3%.
mean, we do, but I'm saying like you got Deluxe Edition Network podcasts from all over the place.
That's right, because we have Australian podcasts and I think some Canadian podcasts. No, we do. We have one Australian podcast, I believe. Yeah, Growing Up Bananas.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yep. We had another one, but they're no longer with us.
Yeah.
So we won't talk about that.
That sucks.
Anyway, so and every month there's a podcast of the month, and this month
Munch.
This
Munch.
is March, and we're not going to promo the podcast of the month because we are the podcast of the month. And if you already are listening to this, then you're already listening to the pod of the month.
Yeah, you're listening to the Deluxe Edition Network pod of the month, folks. This is us.
Feels nice.
Yeah.
And it's kind of nice. I was kind of cruising around, checking out some of the other podcasts on the network and hearing them kind of give us a little love, and we appreciate that. And
Dude, within this first week, I've already bought 2 new cars. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, we're just rolling in it.
That's pretty awesome.
But also, something's kind of exciting. We have the first annual The Denny's Award, DEN, Deluxe Edition Network, Knees, and we pretty much stole the logo from Denny's, added the Den logo to the front. Well, we didn't. Somebody did. So yeah, if you go to deluxeeditionnetwork.com and you go up to the top of the screen, there's a little scroll down there. You hit the Denny's, and you can click on that, and you can vote for Podcast of the Year. And so Casey, who's head of the network, he bought an awesome WWE style championship belt.
I love it.
And it's got these little engraved things we're going to put on there. And so you can vote. I think he says once a day, but I've gone on there and I think you can, I clicked it once just to see voted and went on again. And so I don't know if it doesn't count if you do it twice in a row, but hey,
Well, BVK listeners, what I'll tell you is you go out there and you vote on every single device you have. We all have lots of devices now. You can access the internet on multiple times. So you go ahead, and we're going to put that link on our socials. You get out there and vote once a day on each of your devices. We need that strap. I mean, we're going to go ahead and pose for a nice picture if we get that championship belt.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you listen to us, you like us, just help us out. We'd like to get a little, reward for our efforts that we've been putting in here for 100+ episodes.
Yep. And
We would like a championship belt, and it's going to be up to you all out there to help us get that.
And something else that's on there is it's kind of they're going to have like an Oscar style show, and there's a bunch of different categories. Each podcast submitted a category, various things kind of based on their podcast or whatever. And so you can vote on that as well. And the winners will be announced on like an awards show with the podcast of the year. And we have a category, and what we did was we just took the best stoner or most memorable stoner draft and took our first round. So each one of us had a pick in the first round, and those are the choices for most memorable stoner. And so it's
Most memorable movie stoner.
movie stoner.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be a little bit of a competition with us to see if the people agree with who drafted what in that first round. So go on there, check that out, and at the very least vote for Pod of the Year and then for our stoner draft.
Yeah, that's what we need. And then just continue doing that each day like just a robot.
Yeah.
Put it into your AI programming and just make sure you do that each time. You wake up in the morning, you get your coffee, and you vote for BVK.
I wonder if you could tell ChatGPT to vote every day.
We'll look into it.
Yeah,
I'm
we
pretty
should do
close to ChatGPT at this point.
I know.
We're like best friends at this point. So
I might give you a strategy of how to make that. Call your sketchy friend that has a zombie bot network of computers.
I'm just saying, vote as many times as you can. BVK, we would appreciate it. We don't ask too much from y'all, and we would appreciate it if you guys help us out. So check our links on the socials, because that's where you're going to get the access to the Denny's Awards.
Yeah, and while you're there, hey, maybe check out some other podcasts. We got all kinds of different categories. We got movie podcast, interview podcast, true crime, history, all kinds of great stuff to check out.
Sports.
So yeah, sports, everything. So and support it. It's like eat local, shop local, pod local.
Oh, look at you.
Hey, I think I just came up with a new slogan.
Why are you wearing a shirt that says that exact same thing? That's terrible.
Actually, I'm wearing Spaceballs, the t-shirt.
Some illegal merch here. Just, illegal merch in the house.
So getting back into...
I'm contacting Mel Brooks tonight.
I know.
Oh, no, he's not the one that wants to know.
I know. We'll get into that later. So we are going to be drinking with Mel Brooks himself, the legend, absolute legendary screenwriter, producer, director, actor. This guy's just multi-talented. I would just... you always get that question. It's like, if you could have dinner with one person, he would be high on my list. Just how fun would that be? Just all the stories, all the people he knows.
Plus, you could eat his dinner, because he probably can't at this point.
Well, you'd have to have dinner at 3:30.
Well, I'm drinking my dinner now. And speaking of that, I would ask everybody what they're drinking, but I think we're all drinking the same thing.
I believe it. We can all raise a glass
Raise
in
a
the
glass
air there.
because we are all drinking BVK IPA Director's Cut right out of the keg, out of the old kegerator.
This is very special too, because there's not a whole lot left, folks. It is
yummy.
Yeah. Do they have any cans left down at last call?
There's I think a couple of cases at the most.
Okay. Yeah.
Drink them if you got them.
Oh, 100%. Or drink them and then sell them later, because, Jesus, it's going to be worth something.
There's definitely some people that I know would buy it. How many cases was it Joaquin?
Joaquin has bought, I think he's up to 7.
Yeah. Shout out to Joaquin, a big
Yes.
supporter. I mean, I don't know if he likes us or just likes the beer. I mean,
It's I think a little bit of a combo. So
okay.
But definitely loves the beer for sure.
Either way, he's supporting us, supporting our sponsor, Last Call. If you're ever in the Oakdale area, go down to Last Call, get yourself a beer, get yourself a 4-pack of BVK IPA Director's Cut. So, Mel Brooks, this guy, his career, so many of these movies have just made me laugh so hard over the years. I mean, like I mentioned, Blazing Saddles is just one of my all-time favorites. He's married to Anne Bancroft, the legendary actress, the Mrs. Robinson from The Graduate. She's had it. So that's just the Hollywood power couple right there. And just a very, very interesting guy. I listened to an audiobook of his that was really, really, really good. Really kind of cool to hear his whole story. Definitely recommend that if you get a chance. If you're an audiobook listener, check out his audiobook that came out recently. So, do we have anything we want to ask Mr. Brooks? Brad.
So my big thing is going to be just the process. I mean, of course, as he gets all the accolades, Mel Brooks. Everybody. I mean, when you think of these movies, you think of Mel Brooks, and it's like writing teams. How many people was he close with? Was it just like, did he have final say and like had a team of writers and was like, I get final say, or I'll kind of spice up your jokes, or was it just like a lot? I mean, there's probably been some documentaries about how he does this process,
right,
but I've never looked into them because that's just, I don't do a lot of research.
Yeah. So from the book, and it was a while ago that I listened to it. I don't exactly remember, but he was very much about collaboration. He was a team player, and he was always first to listen. I worked on this with this guy. He had a bunch of key writers early on, and so I know Blazing Saddles had a team of writers, and I know Richard Pryor was one of the writers on that movie. But yeah, as far as I know, it's not, hey, thanks a lot for submitting that, but let's do it my way or whatever. He's always about everybody else makes him funny. Let's work together and figure it out, make the funniest thing possible. So, Governor, you got any questions for him?
Yeah, so I think being a big Star Wars fan, my questions would all be very related to conversations with George Lucas. Like, I want to know, hey, can you, like, I've heard the stories, I've read the stories that there were communications back and forth and restrictions and rules. Can you recount any live conversations you had with him? And were the merchandising and the product gags and the placements and the lack of their ability to make toys or do any of that?
Right.
Is that something Lucas knew ahead of time, or did you come up with that after? Because like, I was making a big career decision the other day. My wife was telling me about, she just read how, she goes, well, what do you think Arnold Schwarzenegger's biggest movie was? And I was like, oh, I don't know. Maybe it has to be one of the action ones. And she goes, no, it was Twins. And they gambled on themselves, and they had a back end percentage that they would share based on the profits. And she goes, the other funny one that she knew I would enjoy is George Lucas said, I'll take a salary of $150,000 for Star Wars, the episode 4. And I want rights to the toys. And they're like, toys, go ahead, take it. And that paid off hugely. And that's kind of the gag here where he said, hey, you can make this movie. I read the script. I love it. He let ILM, do stuff for it, and we'll get into that more later. No, I think some of it was
the C
rad.
team on that one.
but at the time, and I thought, man, the fact that they had the gag about the toys and the merchandising and went overboard with it, and all the placement throughout the movie, and referenced by the shirt you're wearing right now. I want to hear the stories. Tell me the conversations you had with George Lucas, and was he in on?
Well, ultimately,
how much of it was after the conversations they made the gags?
Well, ultimately, it wasn't. I mean, what I read was that he said, "I will give you all access to Star Wars. That's fine, but you cannot sell anything after the movie. You cannot sell any merchandise from Spaceballs."
Yeah, I only heard that they couldn't make action figures.
I thought it was just
all. I thought it was all merchandise.
Maybe that what I read wasn't,
because merchandising is where they basically said the fact that he kept the toy rights and the merchandising rights are the biggest part of why he had infinite money, infinite funding.
Well, yeah.
To do whatever he wanted with it.
Yeah,
later.
but
before the Disney buyout.
But apparently, after the movie came out, George Lucas said he almost hurt himself laughing so hard. He loved it.
Well, they were overwhelmed with demand.
Right. So
you're talking about Lucas's after watching
Spaceballs.
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah. No, he loved it.
So what I read was he basically said it's hilarious, it's dangerous because it's so funny. I'm gonna hurt myself laughing.
Right.
But the other part was he said apparently, if you would have taken all the jokes out, this would have been a great adventure movie. That's kind of to me, that's a fucking reach. Let's be real.
Yeah.
Very, very much.
Considering that apparently Brooks was flattering, I'm like, let's be fucking real here.
Wow. I mean, was that a humble brag? He's like, is this kind of a similar story?
He's trying to pump up his own story. He's like, my story's similar, and my story was great.
What a great story.
Fucking an ass, Lucas.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. I'd be curious. One of the biggest things I'd want to know is what, if I could talk to him right now, like what are his views and his thoughts on cancel culture and jokes, and because he's pushed the boundaries so much. And I know he's probably caught in a lot of heat from Blazing Saddles, because if you haven't seen Blazing Saddles, the N-word is all over that movie. But the point is, the people using that word are morons.
They're the
Very
buffoons of the
satirical.
movie.
Like it's got such license to do it.
And so, but in today's age, which really sucks, which again, I chickened out on wanting to do this movie, doing Blazing Saddles, because, fuck, I mean, we don't have much to cancel, but yeah, I'd love doing this show. And it's just, people just want to find something to, and I guess they can find something about this movie, about Spaceball. We said balls too much and they're going to fucking cancel me or something. But I don't know. So I would just want to get his point of view on whether or not he thinks that, comedy's kind of done, or is it going to come back? Because that's what a lot of people say. It's like at some point it's going to reach a point where it's going to kind of come back around. But what's his views on that?
I mean, I don't know. It's like, I think I see what you're saying with cancel culture. I mean, there's definitely things that go too far, and it's just like, whoa, like nobody is insulting certain groups when they do comedy. Like a lot of times comedy, and that's the whole punching down versus punching up. And I think that's what has become the big idea, is that if you're punching up, it's okay. If you're punching down, that's not okay. And so it's depending on like the perspective of who's actually providing the comedy. And I think Mel Brooks was kind of a punching up guy. He was constantly just like I'm a small Jewish guy, and I'm gonna just sit there and just talk shit about everybody, because I mean, look, this is who I am and that's what I do. And like it was just kind of, he's gonna get away with it. I don't know. I don't know where to think. Like, I don't think Spaceballs watching it. Like, I don't think you could show it to somebody now and like to be like upset about it. Like,
Spaceballs,
I'd be interesting to find like what would people have any problems with.
Somebody will find
You mean Blazing Saddles or Spaceballs?
No, Spaceballs. But I mean, Blazing Saddles. If you don't think about it, you could get upset. I mean, if you just heard like, and I'll bring this up, that there was a supercut of Joe Rogan using the N-word,
right?
And he has referenced it and many times in stories that he's told. It's never him using it as like, I'm calling somebody that, or like,
right.
So he has used it, but he's not afraid to say it in the sense, like, so he's going to say it, but it's always in as he's telling a story. But somebody took the numerous times that he's done that and said, "Look at this white dude saying the N-word,"
right? And
it pissed me off, because like I know that comedians can be, crazy sometimes. I've seen some wild comedians that have said some shit. I'm like, holy fuck, why would you say that? But at the same time, it's like Joe Rogan is just usually telling a story. I don't think he has any ill intent behind it.
Right.
But now that he's kind of a target for certain groups, it's like you cut that together, and it pisses me off that like, look, this is just taking everything out of context. I'm a context guy. Like, I need context. If you're going to say I'm upset by this, I need context. Like, I mean, tell me, okay, what's the situation here so I can understand why this is important to you, or why this concerns you, or why this offends you. Like, I want context. And that's the thing, is that I feel like people lack nowadays. But it's not necessarily that people lack, it's that social media lacks. Because you're going to see a headline on Twitter, and you're going to read that headline and just get, oh my God, and like outrage culture, blah, blah, blah. And people are just tweeting before they can even actually find out what was the context of this situation, what was actually going on. And that's what pisses me off.
We mentioned it earlier. I just feel like he seems really thoughtful about what he does, though. And like I read things where he even said he wasn't sure, as a Jewish person, did I make too many Jewish jokes? And they were not over the top, and it was not a flood or avalanche of these, a Jewish princess is often
she doesn't look Jewish.
The nose joke. I mean,
there's small ones, and even he was like, man, I don't know if I should have done as much of that. And I read that and thought, man, you did not even come close to crossing a line, even through the 2023 lens. I didn't.
Right.
So he seemed to, there's silly stuff, there's goofy parody stuff, but even the things like in Blazing Saddles, where it's pretty it puts pretty big focus on racism and that specific thing.
Right.
Like it all felt thoughtful, and it all felt like he had some foresight. Like, this is not going to be something that's only relevant to people right now.
If you think about Blazing Saddles and you really like pay attention, like you said earlier, Scotch, it's like there's definitely the one group that is the buffoons. They're the absurd, like
Totally.
And wait, was it Gov or did Scotch? I don't know. One of you said that, but it was like, yeah, there's definitely the guys that are made out in that movie to be. These are the dummies that we are laughing at.
Yeah.
And we're laughing with the other characters.
And I mean, just the whole joke of Blazing Saddles that with that town is they're all a bunch of inbred white people because everyone's last name is Johnson.
Yeah.
Because which is the joke. So they're all just a bunch of inbred, ignorant, racist white people. And they're funny or whatever, but they're stupid. And it's just it's a bummer because it's such a
moral.
It's such an important conversation to have. But we're in a fucking era where you can't have fucking conversations anymore. You can't talk about things anymore, it seems like.
If you find the right people, you can.
Right, exactly. I'm just saying, as a whole, with social media and everything like that, it's like the minute you have an opinion on something, you're instantly branded into something evil instead of just talking about it and figuring it out. And it's a bummer.
But even comedy, like stand-up comedy, is so scrutinized right now.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe satire and parody is the last medium that you can really bring it out. Maybe that's part of Mel Brooks' greatness.
I saw an article today talking about Chris Rock just had his little special come out.
Oh, yeah.
It's the first time he's really kind of addressed in the whole Will Smith thing. And I guess he's talking about selective outrage, and he's talking about Michael Jackson and R. Kelly. Like everybody like wants to shit on R. Kelly. He's like, but Michael Jackson gets a pass, and he's just talking about like maybe it's because one guy's songs are better than the other, like, and he's like going off about that. But then I guess a relative of Michael Jackson like called him out on social media and was like,
of course,
look, you're making fun of my uncle, and I can't let this stand. Blah blah blah. And it's like he's making fun of this guy that it seems like by most accounts had some very inappropriate relationships with young kids.
Right.
And yeah, maybe we shouldn't be defending that guy. Like, you don't necessarily need anybody to stand up and say like, oh, I need to stand up for Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
I don't know.
How many years till we can really separate the art from the artist and just say, you know what? I'm just going to not worry about
just a joke,
one or the other.
Yeah.
Or the joke from the comedian.
Right.
Yeah.
The song from the singer. I don't know.
It's tough.
It's
weird.
I feel like we're still approaching a high peak of the pendulum swing.
Well,
before we come back the other way.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I was thinking about that. I mean, the fact that the principal, convicted sex offender. It's like now it's like watching him. His performance is outstanding in that movie. He's
even
so
Ben
fucking
Stein
funny.
is getting drugged right now all over the place.
What? I didn't hear about this.
Hey, okay, so you know Ben Stein.
I know who he is. Yeah.
But now he's coming on social media and making all these like, oh, I missed the days when you had an old black woman on your syrup, Jemima, so no, that's not the worst of them. But he's like, I'm coming out on social media and going out of my way to tell everyone what I think, and he is in the middle of backlash from different sides. So it's hard. Like if you're going to put yourself out there in any way right now,
which is exactly why
two sides are going to have it out over you.
I have never once had an opinion on any political, social, any issue. I've never put one of my thoughts on Facebook. I've never posted about it. I've never commented about it because I can't win. There's only bad things. We were talking about it tonight with posting stuff about animals. I was trying to help a friend find a home for a stray dog, and I got backlash because apparently it's a fucking felony to find a home for a stray dog if you haven't tried to find a home for it.
Owner of it.
Yeah. I need to
find the owner. Yeah.
Yeah. And you have to hold on to it for a month or take it to the shelter. Well, the shelters aren't taking dogs around here. They're full up. You can't even get an appointment for a month or 2 months. And so it's like, and they're calling me, let's say I'm a felon, and I didn't even have the dog. So people are going to find something to get fucking pissed about.
Yeah.
Which is sad because that's going to make people not want to create and not be funny and not make jokes anymore.
There's a funny Instagram video I've seen recently where it's, I don't know if it's from TikTok or whatever. It's from the social medias. I'll just say that in general. And it's like this woman and she says watching rookies post on the mother forums or something like that. Basically, it's like some mother who's like new mom posting about like, oh, this is what I'm doing with my child, and she's like, oh, she's gonna get destroyed. And it's like all the people saying, do you not care about your baby? Why would you let your baby sleep right there? Blah 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 blah. And it's like all these people just going off on her, like just because of like some like little like, hey, you know what? I made this little blankie for my baby and blah blah blah.
Right,
and
so
it's
that's cute. Yeah.
and she's so cute. And like it just people, oh my god, that could kill the baby. Like you don't care about your baby, and like it's just that type of thing right now is just outrage culture is wild. I don't think it's so much of a cancel culture. I just think more of outrage. It's like react before you think, and that's a problem, man.
Well,
I have a problem with that.
The smart people are quiet,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and so the smart ideas aren't getting out there.
Yeah. There's people that don't have anything going on. They're fucking bored at home. They're surfing the internet all day or whatever, and then you start getting on these forums, and then the people that know better don't say anything.
Right.
So then all the idiots, they
have a voice.
They have a voice.
Yeah, I mean,
and then the other idiots join them, and then they feel power.
Mm-hmm.
So
we're getting a little off task here, but but it's truth, and comedy is rooted in that, and it's funny that comedy kind of becomes the forefront of. I mean, South Park. I actually I had a student say South Park's their favorite TV show just recently, and it was funny to me because I was thinking, oh my god, I was in high school when the first it was like the bootleg Christmas special that came out online, 90s, and it was just F words and so just vulgar. And
was that Santa and Jesus?
That's the Santa
fighting?
Jesus, the Santa Christmas special or whatever. And that was so wild. And I was like, oh my Lord, I was in high school, and now there's kids today still enjoying South Park humor, even though South Park has tried to push the boundaries. I mean, consistently
tried.
Successfully done so. And again, and that same kind of Mel Brooks style of like, we're going to just take swings at everybody and just that's the way we're going to do it.
Yeah. I'm very curious to watch more of this History of the World Part 2 to see, because they've already had some jokes that are pushing some things. And again, I don't want to spoil anything, because the things I remember were actually funny, and I don't want to spoil it. But there's definitely the very last skit. You're sitting there going, "Oh shit, they went there." I love it.
I got to check it out.
Yeah,
definitely.
It's worth a watch. So anyway, any other questions for Mr. Brooks before we send him to bed with some?
He already went to bed
Pedialyte
20 minutes ago. he politely walked himself out and went to bed.
I think I remember he was in the Battle of the Bulge. Was that?
Yeah, that is actually, there is a crazy story. He literally was in World War II, Battle of the Bulge, and there's a story that I won't even tell it, but I heard it on Mike Rowe. Mike Rowe has a really interesting podcast. He tells these stories and whatever, and some story about him climbing some tower on the front lines and playing music or something at the enemy. Like he kept playing like some annoying music or something like that. Is all his idea or something like that. So yeah, there's some crazy stories about him. But yeah, he was in World War II, so that tells you how old the guy was. Yeah, he should be sleeping. Okay, we'll be right back in a little bit with some Shack Snack.
I'm Tawny Ray.
And I'm Felicia Connor.
And we are Two Chicks and a Horror Flick, a weekly horror movie review podcast.
We are two horror-addicted best buds sharing our unedited, comical, no bullshit opinions on the horror flicks we love and hate.
And you can always expect some interesting movie trivia. We cuss a bunch, spoil the shit out of some movies, and drink a little whiskey.
You can find us on every social media platform and listen to us on your favorite podcatcher by searching Two Chicks and a Horror Flick.
And remember, no nightmares.
This episode of Bev's Video Kingdom is brought to you by Spaceballs, the energy drink. Introducing the newest addition to your collection of useless space junk, Spaceballs, the energy drink. Are you tired of flying at the speed of light but still not reaching your destination fast enough? Do you wish you could break the space-time continuum with ease? Are you all out of liquid Schwartz and yogurt is nowhere to be found? Look no further. Spaceballs, the energy drink, is made with a top-secret blend of plaid-flavored ingredients that will have you burning through the galaxy like a space Ferrari. With just one sip, you'll leave your friends, foes, and assorted assholes behind in a trail of stardust while feeling like you've been hit with a fresh dose of the Schwartz. So grab your can of Spaceballs, the energy drink, today and blast off into a whole new level of ludicrousness.
Nice, dude. You got a lot of little references in there. You got the plaid, you got the assholes.
Yeah, you know.
Well done,
I'm
buddy.
a reference machine.
Is it a one-night stand, or do you slap 'em at the Oscars, or take 'em home to mom and dad? It's like fuck, marry, or kill. It's Shag Snack Body Bag.
Oh my. Oh my.
Very topically topical.
What's going to be wild is if somebody else got slapped at the Oscars. Like, I mean, this episode comes out right after the Oscars came out. So if somebody actually got slapped again, that would be terrible. That was the craziest moment ever.
Would it be terrible? It would be amazing.
Have you guys watched any of the new Chris Rock stand-up that's come out? He just released one. Dude,
Oh, yeah.
He
Yeah.
goes so hard on Will Smith and Jada Pinkett. It's fucking insane.
Yeah, man, it's pretty brutal. So yeah, if anybody's hearing that voice, we have a new member for the evening. Zach is joining us. Where are you at, buddy?
I am here. I am in Louisville, Kentucky, sitting in a hotel room, just jonesing to get back on the VBT or VPT, the BVK. Jesus.
You did mention you'd had a few margaritas, so
Oh my God.
yeah, we said
I just say earlier today I had lunch and I made the decision in Ohio to have tacos for lunch, and it was the worst decision that I've had in a long time because in case you haven't noticed, I didn't see one Hispanic person in the entire state of Ohio for 3 days, and then I decided I'll have tacos for lunch, and it was a bad decision. But Louisville, Kentucky, delicious Mexican food. I just had some great Mexican food, so I'm ready.
I love
Some
it.
good margaritas. I'm ready to BVK all evening.
Let's do
Nice,
this
buddy.
shit. Let's do this
Well,
shit.
so as you heard from our intro, we are doing Shag Snag Body Bag. So what are we going to, just rail nice and hard? What are we going to take home to mom and dad? And then what are we going to just get the hell out of here? So let's go ahead and let's have Bradley start us off.
Yo, so I am going to shag. And this is something that just made me, this is completely nostalgic because it's the scene that I think I used to like giggle about and laugh about the most when I was a kid, is the stunt double scene. Like when they capture the stunt doubles and just how cocky the dude is that's caught them. And then they turn around and you're just not expecting it. You're like, oh shit, they've been captured. What's going to happen? And then it's just the dude with the beard and like,
Well, why does the double for Princess Vespa have a Hitler mustache? I mean, was that really necessary?
I don't know what's going on there, but it's just a little wild, and I just, that is like an uproarious scene for me.
Yeah.
I love the stunt double scene so much, so that's my shag.
If I was actually I meant to ask before we got into it, so I'll go to Zach next. But first of all, you weren't here for the beginning of the show. Zach, I wanted to get your just top line overall thoughts, and then you'd mentioned that you actually saw it with your family. But had you seen this movie before? Is this one of your movies from your childhood?
So I definitely seen it before, and I actually watched this as a young man and really liked it. Although it's funny to watch stuff as a grown-up because there's so many jokes that I didn't get that I was like, okay, whatever. And then I watch it now and I'm like, oh my God, this is like ridiculous. And I watched it with my whole family, my 12, 10, and 6-year-old kids and my wife. And there was a lot of jokes that flew right over their heads, and they thought, but dude, my boys thought it was the funniest shit ever. Like the Darth Vader just grabbing people's balls, and then every time after that, people just covering their balls every time he would get upset.
Using the
was just so fucking great, dude, so great. And then the movie ends, and my boys are walking out of the room, and I hear my youngest son go, I see your Schwartz is as big as mine. Oh, this is perfect.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, so it landed really good. The scene they probably laughed the hardest at was the ball crushing scene, and the scene where Princess Leia or Princess Vespa is in the thing, and the girls talk. She's talking to her and she can't hear her, and then she takes the Princess Leia headphones off.
Yeah.
And it's like and it's headphones. They were like, oh my gosh, that's so funny. They thought that was absolutely hilarious. So it was a big hit.
That's awesome. Yeah, and there's definitely, you're sitting there going, okay, please don't understand the line about, I bet she gives a great helmet. Please don't understand it. Please don't get it.
That flew over their heads, but it hit me right in the feels. I was like, oh, this is great. I love this.
That's great.
The scene where the guy's underneath the covers and like, just like feeling his way around, and the girls are just giggling, and my kids are like, what's going on? What's happening?
Which
the guy comes up, they're like, oh, he was hiding under the covers.
That's exactly what he was doing.
That was also product placement. It was labeled Spaceballs the sheet.
Yeah.
I've never noticed that.
There's so many things in it.
There were so many. Spaceballs the placemat.
Yes.
Yeah. I remember seeing that. I don't think I've ever noticed the sheet. That's great.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, so what are you gonna shag from this movie, Zach?
Dude, if I'm shagging, and there's absolutely zero doubt about it, I gotta shag Rick Moranis. I mean,
love it.
My kids are like, that's the dad from Honey I Shrunk the Kids. And I'm like, dude, it is the dad from Honey I Shrunk the Kids, and he's so funny, and his comic timing is just absolutely on point the whole movie. And he's just a little guy, and it just makes it so perfect, especially when he's first introduced.
Yeah.
And you can't really get like a scale for him, and he's walking down the aisle, and then all of a sudden he's just like a foot shorter than everybody else.
And the glasses, and he's like he's having a hard time breathing. He's like flips it. I can't breathe in this damn thing.
My favorite thing with Rick Moranis is when after he the ludicrous speed and he goes crashing into the thing, and then he pops back up and he's all concussed, and he's just like, all right, well, we stopped. And they're like, yeah, we're stopped. He's like, okay, maybe we should take a break. He's like, yeah, all right, well, smoke them if you got them. Like,
smoke them if you got them.
So great. Yeah. So literally, I had him written down as my shag as well. He's just one of those guys that just instantly makes me smile. There's just something about him. He's kind of a little kryptonite. Just like you see him, he's like, oh my God, he's just funny. Ghostbusters, he was so good in that. And of course, Strange Brew, which I know Bradley will agree with me on that one.
I've watched my VHS already like 17 times.
Yeah, I'm wearing the Spaceballs a t-shirt tonight, but I also have the Rick Moranis It's a Jelly t-shirt as well.
It's a jelly.
So he's just like, he's in the entire movie of Strange Brew and just not funny at all. And in this one, he really gets to like spread his comic wings.
So wrong.
Hard disagree.
He really
stay in Kentucky, asshole.
His comedic ability.
Oh shit, Governor, what do you got over there, buddy?
As a side note, earlier in the day when it was mentioned to me that this was the movie, and before I even knew I'd be filling in, your brother Brad, I was letting him in the gate at work, and he said, "Are you Gozar? Are you the gatekeeper?" And I was like, "Oh." It didn't even click to me later. I'm like, that's a Rick Moranis. That's a Ghostbuster.
Gozer, yeah.
Are you Gozer?
Are you the keymaster?
The gate. Yeah, he said something like, "Are you
that
the gatekeeper? I'm the keymaster."
Oh wow, that's some weird like coincidences.
I know we talked about it already, but my shag, like I had a list just in case you guys picked stuff I didn't, or before I did. To me, Mel Brooks is so good. Like to me, my shag is. This is another in a line of films that mostly holds up, even in cancel culture. Like the fact that it just still does it. Like that's my shag.
Yeah, it definitely.
I'm not married to it, but
there's definitely
I love
some dated stuff for sure. We talked about it a little bit earlier, but for the most part, it's still like I said. I laughed out loud a lot of times,
but a lot of ham-handed, like the basic jokes that are. It's the same level of comedy no matter what year it is.
Right.
And I'm the guy that's going to find that funny.
Like Zach mentioned,
not.
the headphones. I mean, that's such a simple joke, but it's so hilarious. Like when you just think about it, it's like, oh, she's got the Princess Leia hair. Oh no, that's just her headphones.
Just her headphones.
It's so
such a great gag.
Great gag.
Love it. Okay, let's move on to snag. Zach, why don't you start us off with that?
Dude, if I'm snagging something from this movie, it is going to have to be Princess Vespa, as just like the most angry, but at the same time, just like super beautiful. Like I don't know what else Daphne Zuniga has done or did do.
Melrose Place was her big thing.
TV stuff, and there's
is that what she was on?
Yeah,
I remember her from a movie from the early '80s, the Sure Thing. Rob Reiner directed.
Okay.
And so she was like the main, her and John Cusack were on a road trip across the country. And she was really, really great in that. She's, the girl that they don't get along the whole time. And then, of course, at the end, they fall in love. Spoiler alert.
Rob Reiner's father, Carl Reiner, was a friend and co-writer with Mel Brooks.
Ah.
We have to have the Carl Reiner connection.
Well,
Carl Reiner.
we've talked about Carl Reiner.
Who the fuck is Carl Reiner?
I felt like she was just like absolute dynamite from the very first second that she's on the screen, and just I loved her. I loved her the whole way through. Her story arc was very obvious from the beginning, but was great. And her kind of like the contrast of her character to the
Bill Pullman,
the Bill Pullman guy, who was like, I don't know if we talked about this, but like Bill Pullman was phoning this shit in. Like, I don't know.
Just wait. We can cash in on that in just a second.
Yeah.
Because
give me one category and we'll talk about it.
Bill Pullman was not spectacular in this, and just like I felt like she was giving 100%. He was like, I'm going to give this about 15% and cash my check and move on to whatever the fuck else Bill Pullman does. So I don't know. I thought she was really, really great.
Yeah, I guess I'll wait for Bill. I was going to say something about Bill Pullman. So it sounds like it's coming. So we'll hold off on that.
Yeah, in just a second.
I'll go ahead and jump in on my snag is going to be Mel Brooks doing multiple characters. Mm-hmm. And I it's something that he does in all his movies. He's usually not a main character. Well, it depends on the movie. Like High Anxiety, he's like the main guy, and then History of the World, he definitely has a couple running things. But I just love that his yogurt character was so great. It just the makeup, he just looked awesome. His President Scroob, which I didn't realize is an anagram of Brooks.
Yeah.
It's SKROOB. It's President Scroob. So I don't. He's one of those guys that just makes me laugh every time I see him, and I love him. So
President Scroob is gold in this movie constantly. Like yogurt is just kind of like, okay, it's all right. But President Scroob, oh my God, he's got so many good lines. Like so many just good reactions.
It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the same as my luggage.
Why didn't anyone tell me my ass is this big?
That's right.
My snag here is and this brings two loves together for me, but the hello my baby, hello my darling, hello my ragtime gal. That song
scene killed my kids. They fucking loved that. My son's like, "Is this alien?
As soon as he gets the top,
are they doing alien?"
As soon as he gets the little top hat and puts it on with that little smile, like you just know shit's weird. And that goes back to a Looney Tunes. It was the Mr. What was his name? Mr. Michigan J. Frog.
Yeah.
Was the original Looney Tunes cartoon where like the same thing happens. Like this guy has this frog that won't perform, and then whenever he's not looking, it gets on like the dining room table and does the whole thing.
No one else is there.
Yeah.
And the hello my baby, hello. That's such a great song. And that's my snap.
And of course,
I love it.
Zach's boys are like, "Is this aliens?" Your kids have seen Alien, and that's just disturbing.
They have. They were immediately like, "Oh my gosh, they're doing Alien! I thought there was some Star Wars. They're doing Alien."
And that's the guy from Alien, like literally the guy that was
John Hurt, right there.
So great.
That leads in directly to my snag, which is the obvious and subtle references to so many films in this. Like I know it's a parody and it's supposed to be, Mel Brooks is going to conquer the sci-fi, genre, but just so many, and they even branch off to weird stuff. They go to Wizard of Oz, they go to so many things, but the stuff I recognized immediately, but then I saw later when I looked stuff up, I'm like, holy shit, the scene where you look at the diner before the John Hurt alien scene, like they got permission from George Lucas to do all this stuff. The Millennium Falcon is on the deck. It's a very short scene. You just see like from above, and there's like a couple Winnebago ships, and when they're about to show the diner scene with John Hurt, the Millennium Falcon is on the deck of that place.
Oh my god!
And there's so many little things and subtle things, and all the product placement stuff we talked about, like the way George got money from that, and his specific thing was you can parody anything from my movies. My two things are you cannot make any products, because that's how I bankrolled all this shit. And he said, don't dress up Lone Star as Han Solo. So the
Right.
best part
So
of it
they
is
made him dress up like Indiana Jones.
fucking
right?
Indiana Jones in the
Indiana Jones.
very first scene.
And his name is Lone Star. Han Solo. He's Lone. So he still did kind of.
And he says,
the name.
"Oh, I'm not sure about my background. I was born in the Ford Galaxy, Harrison Ford."
Harrison Ford.
And then they even
Yeah.
made a reference to like, "Whoa, what is it?" And someone said, "Oh, it looks like the Temple of Doom to me." You know, and you're like, "Okay, there's so many
Yeah.
little references that you don't that are not in your face and obvious, and some background stuff." So for me, it was that, and you know, you learn that Lucas was like, "Not only do I love it, I will give my production company ILM, you know, for you to film some of this stuff." And they didn't do any of the intro ships, although it looked as good, at least, as the 77 original Star Wars. But I was watching one scene last night late, and I went, it was one of the escape pod.
The
when they were
escape
leaving,
pods.
and I went,
Yeah.
that looks exactly like the frickin' pod from, and you come to find out he gave them a scene, an unreleased scene
Yeah.
from the first season. It
Oh,
was,
shit.
It was an
Okay.
actual scene.
That was
from
actually
Star
something they had created for Star Wars that they ended up putting
yeah,
into
and it was,
Spaceballs.
and I was like, damn, that's super close.
That's
No,
awesome.
it was exactly that.
Yep.
So, man, that blew me away. I loved it.
Can we get to my body bag? I'm excited.
I was going to go first, but I guess I'll let you go first. Cause mine kind of, let me go real quick. Sorry, because mine kind of piggybacks off him because he's talking about George Lucas. And I was going to body bag the fact that fucking George Lucas at this time had enough fucking money and to be such a bitch and not let them make dolls and merchandise for this, I think. And so I'm body bagging George Lucas and companies like Disneyland who don't let people fucking use anything because they don't have a fucking enough money. So, oh no, you can't do that. It pisses me off.
Well, there is the funny reference when he says, like, when did we wake up or when did we get to Disneyland when the dinks are running around? And then obviously now Star Wars is owned by Disney. It's a Disney property. So,
Yep.
All right, Bradley, let's hear this body bag you're excited.
I mean, it's you know what, we've talked a lot about my boy Bill Paxton on this pod.
Bill Paxton or Bill Pullman?
We've talked a lot about Bill Paxton on this pod, and my boy Bill Paxton. There's always been this like kind of confusion. They play some of the same roles, and they kind of are in the same time period, and people would confuse, is that Bill Pullman or Bill Paxton? It was always the confusion.
Okay.
Well, Bill Pullman's in this movie, and he's just not great. Like Zach already said earlier, the dude kind of phones it in. He like, his comic timing is not great. It's okay at times.
It's not good.
And he just feels like he didn't know if this movie was going to be good or not, and so he just is kind of like just doing his thing. Or if you're like me, Bill Pullman's not a good actor. Like even in Independence Day, like he has that big speech.
Oh.
He just is not a very good actor. And I'm going to go ahead and my body bag should probably be for God, because he took Bill Paxton away from us and left us Bill Pullman. Fuck that. We need Bill Paxton back. You could have taken Bill Pullman. I'm sorry. That's what I'm saying. Quote me on that shit.
Brad, I love everything that you're saying, except for the fact that you're clowning on the speech from Independence Day, which could possibly be the most inspirational speech from any movie of all time.
I said the speech is okay, but other than that, he's pretty much terrible.
I've never gotten goosebumps like bigger.
We will not go quietly into the night.
I know it gets plays if a team's down late in the game. They play at the baseball games. They play at basketball games. They played all sorts of shit.
Yeah.
But Bill Pullman.
They were so down. They were so down, Brad, that they let an obviously drunk Dennis Quaid or whatever
Randy Quaid
was.
Randy
Quaid. They were like, "We'll let
Cousin
you
Eddie.
fly an airplane.
Yeah.
We'll let you fly an airplane into this shit. Like, let's go. We're obviously we're fucking we're shooting from half court now. This is what we got to do."
So a quick little thing about Bill Pullman, and so apparently Mel Brooks was trying to get a big actor in that role. He was
Bill Paxton,
No.
Bill Pullman.
No, he was trying to get Bill Paxton.
He didn't. He passed on Paxton.
Oh, shit.
Because he was trying to get, and this is again what I read on the internet, which who knows, Tom Hanks and Tom Cruise. He was trying to get one of those guys.
I'm going to circle back to that later.
Oh, shit.
Okay, and so then once John Candy and Rick Moranis were on board, once he had them, he's like, shit,
That's a lot of money.
doesn't matter who Lone Star is. Let's just get some nobody. He literally said that when I was reading. It's like, yeah, let's just get whoever I got the guys I want. I got John Candy. I got Rick Moranis. After that, who cares?
Well, he found a nobody who just doesn't know how to act very well and has not been great in anything. I'm sorry. I've never been a fan of Bill Pullman. Nothing he does excites me ever.
Harry Met Sally.
I haven't seen that movie.
Oh shit!
Jeez.
Okay, he's good. He's good.
We might be doing that pod very soon. So
yeah,
I might be in on that one.
Well, Nate would slap you right now if he was.
I will not have what you're having right now. You don't know that reference.
All right, Gov, what do you got?
Oh, geez. So I had a few. I have like. At first, I was. It's a very sentimental movie for me. It's old. I was a kid when I watched it. I struggled at first, and then I came up with 3 body bag ideas, and I'm like, well, fuck, what do I narrow it down to? I'm going to go with, I'm going to mention 2. Is that allowed? Can I mention 2?
If they're quick.
Yeah.
Okay, first one, Joan Rivers is underused. End of my body bag. But I decided it's not enough.
Okay.
Hey, Nate, no, don't move on from that so quick, because you know what? She literally, they gave her nothing.
Yeah.
Like, she is like, I mean, speaking of AI from the last episode, like, they could have given her C-3PO character like some sort of lines. Like, C-3PO is significantly funnier in the Star Wars movies than Joan Rivers is in this movie. Like, they gave her nothing.
That bothered me a little, and she's a big name. So
I did love her line when she says that was my Virgin alarm. It's programmed to go off before you do.
Yeah. But that's a small thing. So to me, like, looking like, if a teacher tried to show this movie in the classroom because it's rated PG, you're fucked. Like, the language, like, and I know it's 80s, you know, like, but to me,
this is when they're still trying to figure out PG movies.
Like, I love parodies and I love this, but to me, I just had a conflict with the fact that there seemed to be a lack of commitment. Is this a kids movie? Is this adult humor? And I like stuff that have a little of both, but it seemed to be non-committal to either side of that, and they could have gone a little more over the top, or they could have kept it more low-key, but it got a PG rating.
Yeah,
and there's F-bomb and there's
bullshit. I don't think I'd ever caught the F-bomb before, and I caught it this time. I was like, oh yeah,
like Rick Moranis straight up throws it out there. So to me, it seemed weird and out of place, and
a lot of sexual innuendo. Definitely.
A lot. Mel Brooks loves cleavage in his films, and the nurse with the little.
So that's
his tail when it's going up the girl's skirt.
Up her skirt.
That's be
sorry, it's got a mind of its own.
Yeah, that has to be redone.
Okay, I love it. Is that everybody? Zach, do you got a body bag?
Yeah, I do. And you know, Nate's right. Like, they definitely like some of the jokes that weren't telegraphed really hit. Like the headphone joke, I don't think you necessarily see coming, which hits hard. And then there's like a 5-minute setup to the luggage joke where they're like,
everyone's counting down the numbers.
Exactly. And you're like, oh, okay, well, they're going to cut in 5 seconds to them obviously carrying all this girl's luggage, right? And it's like, that joke was so telegraphed. But really, if I'm going to go with a body bag from this movie, it has to be, and you said Joan Rivers, like, she was underutilized. I completely agree. But if somebody was underutilized in this movie, it's John Candy. Mm-hmm. I don't think John Candy was used to his full extent. He's so funny.
Right.
And he's such a good, like, physical, funny actor. And I really felt like he was kind of understated the entire movie. Well, like, he didn't. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, they're just sitting in chairs so often. It's like they're just sitting in chairs most. He didn't get to be like physical and like do actually a lot of stuff.
Other than his tail, like
or getting his foot smashed by the statue, and hopping around. But like half his jokes were about his name. Like
how many takes did they have to do when he perfectly smacked Pullman, like turning around with the tail? Like it was I watched them and I'm like, man, that's a perfect scene with every hit, like, and you know it's not CGI like a lot of stuff. I wonder how many takes.
But it's definitely interesting that you make a good point, Zach. It's like if he was like, according to Mel Brooks, and of course if it was right that what I read, like if that was a great prize of him to get him in this movie, it's like you'd think he would utilize him more. Yeah. So
if you were gonna have this big named actor that was huge at the time,
right,
and you're just not going to have him have that many jokes. I mean, he did a lot of straight man stuff, really. He was just kind of like, oh, yeah, like kind of moving the plot, which is fine. But if you're going to have John Candy in your movie, let's give him some fucking funny lines. Let's Uncle Buck the shit out of this, dude. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to freaking try and make him hilarious.
Rick Moranis and President Scrooge, like I said, I think they get the most, like, fun lines and silliness.
Yeah.
Like, it focuses on them. And everybody else is kind of like, let's move the plot along with a couple little jokes here and there.
Right.
So,
But even Colonel Sanders had a few, like.
But that's all related to.
But he wasn't that far off of Candy to
right.
Yeah.
To Zach's point, though.
Love it. All right. Well, let's move on to alternate endings. I can't talk.
No, how about streaming recommendations?
How about that first?
Crackle, Pluto, HBO, find anime on Crunchyroll, Peacock, Hulu, Disney, Netflix, Tubi, Sling TV, Showtime, Fubo. What the fuck is Fubo? I'm sure it'll cause a sensation. It's a streaming recommendation.
I just know your buttons aren't labeled. I was trying to fuck with you.
Oh,
So-
I'm good at this shit.
Yeah.
I learned. I've been studying for the last like 2 weeks. I went to school.
All right, streaming recommendations. Who wants to go first?
I've got one, and
Okay.
and it's not a Mel Brooks, but it's definitely in the spoof genre, and it's one that I think a lot of folks probably never saw, and it's terrible at times, but it's also got some really, really, really funny moments, and that's Mafia, which is Jay Moore, and it's a complete spoof. It's Christina Applegate, Jay Moore. It's a spoof on like all Goodfellas, Casino, The Godfather. It's all the different mafia movies, and I mean, it was actually originally titled Jane Austen's Mafia, which is just trying to be stupid for stupid's sake. But it's silly. It's got a lot of really, really funny moments. Like, as much as some of it doesn't hit, it's kind of like any Mel Brooks movie where there's gonna be some stuff that hits hard, and you're like, oh my god, that's some of the funniest stuff I've seen, and then some of it's just really trash.
Right.
But
It's like scary movies, like same thing. It's like there's some
Yeah,
great shit,
yeah.
and then there's some really, really dumb stuff.
and you got to sift through it, and I think Mafia is one worth sifting through because it's got some pretty fucking funny stuff. So, and that's on Hoopla.
Oh, okay.
Hoopla. Everybody that's got Hoopla.
Everybody's got Hoopla.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, everybody, if you don't have Hoopla, what are you doing? So, yeah, check it out on Hoopla or pay $3 on Amazon or whatever.
Got it. I wanted to recommend, I still recommend it, but it's not streaming anywhere, is Blazing Saddles. We talked about that. I mean, if
Not streaming anywhere?
it's for rent, you can rent
Okay.
it on Apple TV, but it's streaming recommendations. We try to get you some free stuff. So
Is that a criteria? Because
well,
No,
not really.
Okay.
I also wanted to, because something actually did get released this week, and it has to do with the reason why I came up with this movie is because of History of the World Part 2 being released. They just, and because I checked before they did History of the World Part 2 if History of the World Part 1 was anywhere, and it wasn't. But now that it's out, they on Hulu.
Both on Hulu?
good.
They're both on Hulu. So check out History of the World Part 1. It's just an amazing Mel Brooks. If you like Mel Brooks, you love this kind of comedy. It's so good. It's all over the place. Nate would hate it because there's musical numbers, but
no rom-com element.
I mean, if you want to see Mel Brooks dancing around during the Spanish Inquisition, singing about the Inquisition, and if that's funny to you, which is funny to me,
I laughed just thinking about it.
it's so good. And yeah, so that is on Hulu right now. And then, like I said, I've watched one episode of History of the World Part 2, and so far I'm a lot more. I definitely have more hope than I did going into it. So far it's actually pretty funny. So check those out.
Govs, what you got?
So I had a couple ideas.
You and twos. What the fuck, man?
Well,
You're like two characters on this show.
I went well.
You got to do them in different voices.
So I went well away.
Don't fucking do that.
Wrong. I was thinking about my other podcast. So the movie that I thought about but I haven't seen very often, I remember really liking it as a kid, was Ice Pirates, and it seemed very similar, but I didn't go rewatch it or anything. Have you guys even seen that?
Oh yeah, I saw it when I was a kid. I have not. That's one I would. If I went back and watched it now, I'd probably be
Is that
like,
Terry
"What
Gilliam?
the hell?"
I'm too. Yeah.
And Time Bandits, kind of the same.
Oh no, I'm saying no. Ice Pirates
no.
is not.
Oh,
is not. No,
I'm thinking of Time Bandits.
Time Bandits
Yeah,
is Terry
yeah.
Gilliam.
Time Bandits is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Okay.
But Ice Pirates, so it was just too far from me. So I sorry if it's lame, but there's a connection here. My recommendation is, as a big Star Wars fan, go back and rewatch or rewatch Rogue One. on Disney Plus.
Oh, yeah.
Because to me, it's not one of the major Star Wars movies. It's an amazing movie, though. It's so different than the other Star
literally
Wars
the best Star Wars movie.
Okay, so that's I like your take on that.
It's my number 2 list on my list.
But here's the connection. I was rewatching Spaceballs last night, and I was like, the fucking air shield with the little square thing with the combination. It is the shield around the planet in
Rogue One.
And then I was like, wait, did Star Wars say let's pull a reverse recognition parody of the movie that parodied us?
I didn't think about that.
That's crossed my mind before, and
it looks
you are
the
so
same, like the frame
right.
around the opening. We got this weird metal frame and a shield around the whole planet. Are you here to steal our air? I'm breathing air. I was like, this is too coincidental. Like, it's crazy.
Dude, that's a good callback. I think that's truth. That's beautiful.
I love Rogue One. I haven't watched it in a while.
Such a good movie.
I want to watch it again. Like you said, I think it's probably the second.
Well, and Andor's doing just 2 seasons. They've already said it's 1 season and then a second season. And Andor season 1 was pretty great. So season 2 will be, I'm sure,
so far behind.
Planet
on the streaming
Druidia.
shows.
I didn't mention the Planet Druidia.
Planet Druidia.
Zach, you ready?
Brad, are you going Empire Strikes Back, Rogue One?
Yes. That is
okay.
me.
All right. That's the correct order. I like that. So if I'm going parody movies, did you guys ever watch so the guy Jermaine, he's from New Zealand, and he did a show on HBO with the other guy, and they were like singers. It was called do you guys know the show that I'm talking about? It was
Flight of the Conchords?
Flight of the Conchords.
Yeah.
Do you guys know who I'm talking about?
Good.
Yeah.
Dude. So he is in this show that Takai Waititi, the guy that you know who I'm talking about,
Yeah.
Brad, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So he did a movie in 2014 called What We Do in the Shadows. That is like a parody of vampire movies or of like vampire lore or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And they actually the movie was so popular that they ended up doing a TV show of it.
Yeah.
And dude, it is so fucking funny, man. And it's like, the plot is completely irrelevant, and you just tune into any episode or the movie, whatever it is, and there will be some funny shit that will get you rolling on the floor laughing. So everybody go check that out. You can watch the movie on HBO Max, I believe, and I think that the show is also streaming on HBO Max. You guys should check it out. It's fucking hilarious.
Yeah. I would be willing to bet a lot of money that Taika Waititi definitely has Mel Brooks is one of his influences, because he's got that same
1,000%.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, I caught What We Do in the Shadows, the movie, just randomly one. I'd never heard of it, no idea, years ago, and I just kind of got sucked into it, and it was amazing.
It's
it was
so absurd.
so funny,
It was
so dumb,
so
but so
hilarious.
good.
The Takai Waititi guy also did another one that's like a pirate show on HBO. I'm not sure if you guys have checked that out.
I didn't see
It's
it, but yeah.
I don't remember.
It's
what
something
called,
our
so this is a
flag or
bad
something.
story.
Something
Yeah.
raise
Yes,
our
our flag means death.
Yeah, our flag means death. There you go.
We watched the whole season, and holy crap, it's so funny. It's got this like really weird, he's like this badass like Dread Pirate Roberts type like Blackbeard character, but he's also like sort of a closeted homosexual and like sort of in love with the other, with like his one of his captives, and it is the funniest shit, dude. I really like his humor. That Takai Waititi guy, he's fucking great.
You love him so much, you know how to say his name.
I have no clue how to say his name.
Can I piggyback on the one thing about that real quick? Did Mel Brooks get right the casting with Cary Elwes in Men in Tights that he wanted to have with Bill Pullman in this? Was he the better, same type of role and better guy? Like, would you have loved that more?
Cary Elwes in Men in Tights was great.
Amazing.
I didn't have any
But everyone's
problem with it
shitting
at
on
all.
Bill Pullman today, and I'm not saying you're wrong, but
that's because
the right
Bill
one?
Pullman sucked in this movie. Bill Pullman sucked bad.
But they seem like the same type of.
Only thing I will give credit to Mel Brooks
Bill.
is that if you were looking, nobody was writing home about Luke Skywalker, and I know it's not the same character, but it's like nobody was writing home about Luke Skywalker's acting in episode 4,
Right.
And it's like maybe he was just like, I want that type of acting. I want somebody who's just kind of like.
That's not what it is.
I guess
I think he
wrong.
hired Bill Pullman because he thought Bill Pullman would be good, and Bill Pullman was like, I'm gonna do cocaine and fuck hookers and just phone this one in.
Bill Paxton, I miss you, boy.
Yeah,
I miss Bill Paxton.
I love it. All right. Okay, now we can move on to alternate ending.
How about that?
Yeah.
No jet wash for Maverick, Meg still on that goose stick. Iceberg list Titanic, Leo's drawing that nude shit. Jim fucks Nadia like we all thought he should. Ricky and Doughboy get the fuck out the hood. Luke hooks up with Leia just like he's intending. It's time for a reshelf and alternate endings.
I don't really have an alternate ending, but I do have an alternate song.
Okay.
And it might be a little bit literal, but
I hope it's the same as me.
We've done that before.
I hope it's the same as me.
And when I think of Spaceballs, and I think of balls, AC/DC.
It's written on my fucking
big
script
balls.
right here. We're so
I've
corny.
got big balls. Sometimes
if that just came in at the very end, it would just be so absurd and stupid.
It's so dumb. So that's
dude, you guys are on the same corny level at all times. Shit, you guys are like, what would be the corniest song to end this movie? And you and Scott are fucking Vulcan mind meld on that shit.
We're perfect at that. That's exactly what we did. I was sitting there, AC/DC big balls. I'm like, this is so dumb and stupid. I don't even know why I'm typing it here, but I'm going to type it anyway.
Oh my god, and that's like at least the third time that we've nailed the other ones.
We're like, what's the corniest song you could play at the end? It's so on the nose. That's what it was. But that's such a fucking ridiculous song. I remember hearing it for the first time. I was like, why does this song even exist? It's just like the way he sings it. Like everything about it is so.
Some balls are held for pleasure, some for fancy dress. But the balls that are held for pleasure, those are the balls I like best. It's so stupid.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous song.
Anyway.
At the end of the movie, it would have been stupid. I've got an alternate.
Can I tell you guys?
Oh, go for it.
Can I tell you guys a quick anecdote? So I was in Ohio the last 2 days, and I had a sort of a coworker that needed to go to the emergency room, and so I had the rental car, and I was like, oh, I'll take you to the emergency room, and so this woman gets in my car, and we start driving to the emergency room, and the closest emergency room is at a place called the Jewish Hospital, and that's the name of the hospital, the Jewish Hospital. And so she gets in the car and she looks it up and she's like, this is it. It's 5 minutes away. I'm like, okay. And so I drive her and we're almost there. And she turns to me and goes, do you think that all the doctors are Jewish? And I said, and I had just watched Spaceballs and I was like, well, I guess if they're Jewish, it's better than them being Drewish. And she goes, what does that mean? And she had no idea what I was talking about. And I was like, all right, not only was that a bad joke, but I can't expect you to understand my Jewish joke. But anyways, we can cut that. But it was pretty funny. It was pretty funny to me in my head.
That's great.
My alternate ending is actually kind of related to the huge rap song that played right before this segment, which is it mentions Luke hooks up with Leia just like he's intending.
Right.
They do no reference to the incest of the kiss between Leia and Luke. I'm just saying, if we have an alternate ending, right at the wedding, all of a sudden they should have had like the Luke character come out of left field and be like, "No, she's mine." And it's like her long lost brother. He's like trying to like step in on him or something.
Brad, you have fucking ruined my alternate ending because I thought it would be hilarious for him to hook up with her at some point in the desert. And then when he goes back to marry her, Yogurt tells him, and she's your sister. And then he has to come back and be like, oh, hey, I found out from this necklace I've been wearing that we're actually brother and sister. We probably should be
Yours is a way better version. I just made mine up on the fly. I have zero written down on my paper, but I was just like, all right. So
and I was sitting here thinking, what happened? What if it was revealed at the wedding or whatever? But that is so much better, Zach.
That is terrific.
Yeah, wouldn't that be amazing? That would have been a great callback to Star Wars.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's yeah. They avoided that topic completely, which I mean, I don't know why.
Governor, you got something?
What's What's funny too is that my boys the whole time were waiting for the Luke Skywalker character to show up.
Right.
They were like, "Who's going to be the Luke Skywalker? Who's going to be the Luke Skywalker?" And he just never comes, which I thought was kind of maybe on purpose. Like, is Mel Brooks playing 4D chess like that deep to where he's like, people are going to be waiting for Luke Skywalker to show up. We're just not going to have him show up.
Right.
I don't know.
He felt like the combo of Han Solo.
That was the intent.
I know they never say it directly, and you read a lot.
Yeah.
It felt like they just morphed the two kind of into one.
Yeah, I was looking at a description of the movie, and they listed basically Lone Star was a combo of Luke and Han.
And Indiana Jones.
And Indiana Jones.
Gotcha. Maybe that explains the bad acting, like Brad said. I don't know.
Right. Governor, you got anything over there?
So I'm never brief, as you guys know, and I write too much, and this to me is the most difficult thing to come up with an answer to. So I went off the fucking rails a little bit. Here we go. We keep the movie exactly the same as it is. You see the Spaceballs land. You see the whole fucking what was it, Planet of the Apes, you know, and you see the wedding scene, and then you have to stay, and people aren't ready for this, and you have the post-credit scene. You fast forward. The apes help the Spaceballs build a smaller new ship, Spaceball 2. They re-enter ludicrous mode, which glitches because it's new to them, and it sends them far into the future. And they use the new Mr. Rental, like the whole awesome scene. I don't think we talked about it today, where they're viewing themselves in lifetime. Right. And one of the best parts of the movie.
So meta.
They see themselves watching the sequel. They're so far ahead. Spaceballs 3, The Search for Spaceballs 2 in the future, which stars the actors Brooks wanted to get in it. Gene Wilder is playing Yogurt now. Tom Cruise is playing Lone Star while they're watching the sequel. And it alters our very own universe, our reality. Mike Myers is now in our universe, inspired by this, and that's how he did the sequel to Austin Powers, where he saw Tom Cruise playing himself and Gwyneth Paltrow playing it.
This is getting complicated.
I'm so confused.
I'm just saying, if Bill Pullman like disappears,
Bill Pullman's fucking out.
If he disappears like into like the world, like I'm happy.
So,
Nate, the only thing I'll say is that I hope that Spaceballs 2 is called Spaceballs 2, the vasectomy.
Well, no,
I like that.
I'm gonna go even more out there, and this is, I apologize, it's fucking ridiculous. So. One more thing, the Spaceball sequel they're watching, it's voiced over because it's animated, it's cartoonish, and that allows Mel Brooks, with his new movie set to release in 2024, to conquer the last thing he's not done yet, and that's anime. Animated parody. Oh, by the way, in the new altered reality, the post-credits major scene is now the inspiration for why Marvel did it in all their movies. They changed the timeline.
Holy fuck.
So basically, Mel Brooks invented the whole multiverse.
Mel Brooks did it all.
The multiverse. Yeah. Mel Brooks multiverse.
I'd sign up for Mel Brooks multiverse.
If one of us can build a time machine, the first thing we're going to do, go back to Mel Brooks. All right. Just create this wild universe where all your movies intertwine and intersect forever.
He started it all.
Can I confess something to you guys?
Yes.
I watched this whole movie, and I didn't know that President Scrooge was Mel Brooks until I jumped on this podcast with you guys, and you guys told me that it was him.
You've done that on numerous occasions, and I love that about
you. I have no clue.
Did you know that he was also Yogurt?
Really funny.
He was Yogurt?
I had no idea, but I found it out when you said it, Scotty Beck. That's why I do this podcast, so you guys can teach me about movies from when I was 5 years old.
That's the way we do it.
Oh, I love it. All right. So,
on that note,
I think we should wrap this up. Oh man, it's been a lot of fun. Hopefully you guys had as much fun as I did. And what are we going to do next week?
Next week, well, you know, the person that's in charge of this is not here, but they can talk about it. Oh no, wait, you're in charge of this shit.
Am I? Okay. Well, I thought.
What's going on next week?
Of the movie next week?
No, what's going on next week?
So
you want me to say? I'll say it.
We are not doing. So usually,
wait.
So usually when
you're talking about the draft.
Yes, the draft.
Yeah, we were confused.
Unfortunately, we are not doing a themed draft based on Spaceballs because we're doing something special. And that's why I threw it to Brad, because, you know, you were there last year and I thought you could.
And you know what? This is what we're doing. The second annual That's right, folks. It is the Bevies. The Bevies are back, folks. You guys loved it so much last year, we had to bring it back. So we're going to take the 27 movies that we have done so far since the first annual Bevies.
Correct.
And we are going to be redrafting the Oscar Award main categories, the Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, and Best Actress from the 27 movies that we have covered in the last year. And so we'll be choosing our favorites from the movies. Some people are going to get their due who did not get that, who got completely snubbed by the Oscars. You can guarantee it's going to be a fun episode, and there's going to be some wild card categories.
Right.
Which who knows what there's going to be.
The fans were just clamoring for this. We had tens of people just in the DMs, just on the Facebook.
Yeah.
I think there was at least one guy that was like, you guys should do the Bevies again.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was Scott Beck under a pseudonym, but I'm in, dude.
I think I think our audience this time is going to be at least like 2 more people.
Right. So yeah, it was a lot of fun last year. So last year, Nick was still on the show. My brother and I judged it together, and so we thought, since I'm on the show now, that we'd bring back my brother. So that's why he's hanging out tonight, and going to be here next week for that as well. So he's going to help judge the Bevies. So
I'm excited. I haven't been called an idiot live since like 2 weeks ago when Tim Beck picked up my tab at the fucking ranch hand when Scott Beck played a show. It was beautiful.
Nice.
I love it. All right. Thank you guys so much. And we will see you next week.
Check out the Denny's.
Oh, check out the Denny's.
Not the Bevies, but the Denny's is on our socials. Click that link and go ahead and cast some votes for BVK Podcast as the podcast of the year, as well as check out the categories and choose your favorites there as you move through the categories.
Help us win that championship belt, even though it's not big enough to fit me.
Don't be shy, motherfuckers. You can vote as many times as you want. I won't judge you if you vote multiple times. It's like going back for seconds at Thanksgiving. It's what you're supposed to do, guys. Come on.
Every device you got.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Try that one more time.
Bye-bye.
I wanna be at Beverly's, bringing me home with my movies. Just a blind by, no reason why. I love this scene. Nick Natak and Brad, your favorite podcast. The start